My name is Natalia. I was born in Spain, specifically in Bilbao, in the Basque Country. And it is interesting to think that I was born in a dictatorship, Franco one. And I was still very young when finally ended. And I don't recall really how it was to live in a dictatorship. But I do remember how it was the beginning of a very new democracy. Something that I do remember, and I was about 15, it was the attempt of coup d'etat, something that it was terrifying for us, particularly being so new into the democracy. And the whole of the Senate, Congress, the president were there when that happened. It was a guy called Tejero from Guardia Civil. And the person who saved the day that day was the king, being the commander chief of the whole of the armed forces. He was able to call off the madness of that day. I do also remember being a young woman, how different my country was from today. We truly have gone a long, long way, not only into democracy, but into human rights. At the time that I was growing, the sexism was rampant. Domestic violence was the norm. You couldn't expect anybody to defend you or to have the institutions doing anything about it. It's amazing to see my country now as any other first world country. And actually, if I'm not mistaken, it was a country who approved the same-sex marriage even before that it was approved in California. Something else that I do remember growing up specifically in the Basque Country was all the turmoil due to the terrorist and separatist group called ETA. And that brought a lot of instability, and it became normal for us to just be in the middle of demonstrations, rubber bullets, people running, police taking downtown, buses burning. So I think it prepared us for enjoying when things got better and being ready for peace and for progress. And then something also that I can remember, it was the way my city changed from a very industrial one, where we were living thanks to the stainless steel minery and making ships, all those type of industries. All of a sudden, we joined the European community, and basically, boom, everything is gone. So we need to reinvent ourselves, and we did. And actually, my city, who nobody knew some few decades ago, is the one who has the beautiful Guggenheim Museum. And a few years ago, it was recognized as the best city in Europe. Not because it's the prettiest, but because of the effort the city made to reinvent itself, to beautify the buildings, to clean the river, to build a metro that is top-notch 21st century. Then, of course, at a certain point, I came here to California, to the Bay Area. It was to do my postdoc in UC Berkeley in the organic chemistry department for 2 years. And after that, I decided to stay, find a job, because unfortunately my country, despite all the progress in many areas, never had the infrastructure in biotech. When I think about how it was for me as an immigrant, particularly in the beginning in here, I always remembered the feeling that I was alone for the first time in my life. I didn't know absolutely anybody. And I barely was able to communicate. I barely understood anybody, and I couldn't put together more than a couple of sentences, very simple one, to make myself understand. I remember people hanging on me when I was trying to find an apartment because I couldn't understand what they were asking me about. Something that I really like about being in here, well, first of all, the Bay Area is beautiful. It really exceeded my expectations in terms of nature and just pure beauty. I love the water. There is plenty of that in here. Also, I wanted always to meet people from other countries and other cultures, and definitely the Bay Area is the place to do that. So I'm very grateful that I have met people from so many countries, and that I have called a number of them my friends and my acquaintances. So plenty of opportunities here, something in sharp contrast to Spain. Things that for me has been more difficult is the lack of community. A word that I don't find really translation in Spanish because we don't talk about community. We live in community. We are community. Family is one of the most important things. Particularly, at least in the Basque Country, I can say that friendships are very important. We are very loyal, and we cultivate friendships that are very deep, and they last forever. So that network is something you lose when you become an immigrant, and it's not so easy to build it up. So for me, it's always that sensation, that loneliness that I felt at the beginning. It seems to be always longing, just some underneath, in some place underneath. Difficult to find that level of connection. I think people in here are more to themselves, more to your problems, my problems, I deal with mine. I think people are more willing to go to the therapist and less to talk to friends to go through the problem. So that would be, for me, that's one of the differences. So I think reflecting on all the years since I've lived in here, definitely I can say that my country is in a way better place. It has progressed greatly, and as I said, it is really a first world country. And we receive actually a number of visitors that we didn't have when I was growing up. So I'm very proud of that, and happy to see that change in Spain, a real democracy. Regarding the US, or at least my experience here in the Bay Area, which is where I've been living all the time in here. Perhaps the changes that I have seen is definitely we are more crowded than before. I think when I made it in here, people were friendlier. Now we are a little more stressed out, I think, a little more, there is more traffic. There is therefore more pollution. So those are things that has changed since I made it in here, that it make me a little sad comparing with the 90s when I arrived.